Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on over to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio. Today we're going to be talking about a couple that got murdered in DC. We're also going to be going over why that happened and the people that are supporting it and who's this man and what's his history, because it's not that hard to find. We're going to be talking about all of that and more coming up on today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. So sit back and enjoy as we wait on a couple more people to roll in here. I just think that's a pretty awesome video, personally. I really do. Something else I should probably tell you guys about as we're waiting on folks to roll in here, over outside of the CIA headquarters in DC, right around, or in Virginia, right around 4 a.m. this morning, we ended up having a security guard or somebody that was up at the front. They have been very quiet about it, actually engage and shoot somebody. The suspect that they ended up shooting is still alive. We don't really know the details, all of what happened over there in frickin' Langley, but what we do know is that they have shut the gate down and that they have started diverting other people to go away. The Fairfax County, looks like cops, or the Sheriff's Department, Fairfax County Sheriffs, had showed up in order to help them out and lock everything down. But yeah, nothing has really came out of that yet. The only thing that's relatable to this that's happened in the past is in 2021, somebody from the FBI had shot somebody outside of there who claimed that they ended up having a bomb. Is the only real background information that we have on that. But we're going to go ahead and start diving right into some of the stuff now that you guys have had a chance to get in there. Good morning, everybody. What's up? How you guys doing? Yeah, doing a lot better, dude. That sickness, that stuff flows up and down. Kind of weird. I don't know what the heck this like illness is that I ended up catching, but I'm not a really big fan of it. It sucks. So let's just, I mean, you know, there's an old saying, like, why redo it if it hasn't been done? Or like, why fix it if it's not broke? This lady did a very good job of breaking this down and talking about some of the stuff that's happening. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time going over this today because I think it's important, right? The reason I'm doing this is, you know, I woke up this morning to text messages and I had a long chat. And it's funny to me that people don't realize how big of a deal this is in the United States of America. And I'm going to break it down for you. But even this killing last night, and by the way, one of the people that ended up getting killed, and we're going to go over that, wasn't even Jewish, it was Christian. The amount of fear, and make no mistake about it, that is the point of terrorism, is to push fear into people's hearts. And the amount of freaking fear that they are trying to put on Jewish people here in the United States is absolutely disgusting. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to go over some shocking stats today. Orly Chaos says, "Hey Matt, wanted to say, hey, taking some time to get right. Love everyone here. Chaos, you do what you got to do, brother. I've been there before myself. So if that's what you got to do that, man." Derek Joliffe says, "Good morning. Been around since the beginning. Wanted to say thank you for all you do, Matt. I'm about to be a dad again, boy on the way in August." Heck yeah, man, dude. Congrats for being a father. That's always good news, man. Always good to see you guys. Is like, I love that. I love that for people. So yeah, She says it really well. I listened to about half of it this morning, figured I'd do the other half with you guys, and we're getting in the story of exactly what happened.
You've all heard the tragic news by now. Last night in Washington, D.C., a beautiful young Jewish couple, Sarah and Yaron, were brutally murdered in cold blood by a 30-year-old man, Elias Rodriguez, who shouted, "Free Palestine," as he pulled the trigger. Sarah was only 25, and Yaron was 24, and he had just bought a ring and he was about to propose. They were a beautiful couple with their whole lives ahead of them, and now they are dead. Let me ask you, did it free Palestine? We need to stop pretending.
No, it did not.
The Free Palestine movement is a movement about anything other than destruction and murder. It is not about human rights. It is not about peace. It is a movement that simply glorifies the slaughter of Jews. 2 innocent people murdered in cold blood. And this terrorist thinks he's a hero. And you know what the sick thing is? He will be treated like one in the echo chambers that created him. Do you know who helped him pull that trigger? The legacy media, who has spent months, well, actually years, demonizing Israel, lying about what's happening in Gaza, just days ago claiming that 14,000 babies would die because of Israel. That was a lie. And it was a lie that only fed the raging hate against the Jewish people. And you know who else is responsible? The universities have turned into breeding grounds for anti-Semitism, where genocidal chants are called.
We're going to go over that today.
Speech. And professors glorify the October 7th massacre and normalize the dehumanization of Jews while administrators do nothing.
Literally.
And then all of you who contributed to this hate with your lies, with your demonization, with your silence, are shocked when that hate turns into murder. Let me tell you something. When they say globalize the Intifada, they mean it. When they say resistance by any means necessary, they mean it. This is what they mean. If you have been quiet, it is time to wake up and to pick a side, because your silence is part of the problem. Sarah and Yaron are dead. And my prayer is that their memory rips the blindfold off of this country's eyes, that it finally forces people to face the truth and to accept accountability for their lies and where they lead. May their memory give the silent the courage to finally take a stand. May their memory be a blessing.
It's like to the point where I'm not Jewish. As you guys know, I'm Christian, but I'm tempted to get like a huge Star of David t-shirt and just go walk around in public so I can find these people and just let them come up to me and treat me that way so I can beat the freaking brakes off of them. Or again, I'm not Jewish, but I'll go buy a kippah and put that sucker over one of my balding spots on the back of my head and just walk around with that sucker and wait for somebody to come up and do some dumb crap like this just to start getting rid of some of these people. It's absolutely disgusting. If I had the ability to change my skin color, and we'll go over why here in just a sec, and be freaking black, I would do that too. And just like, yeah, if you're going to be that way, I'm going to beat the freaking brakes off you as well, because I'm tired of the division in this country, and I'm tired of seeing people getting murdered for absolutely no reason and for all of these things to go down. As I say that, I can't help but notice when we really do have these large issues going on inside of our country, I can't help but notice how ridiculous some of this crap is. You want to know what people actually think, like who the actual targeted groups is. These are the types of people that think that they're being targeted. These ones. And we can go over those stats today as well, because they're going to be included in the ones that I have. So why not cover these at the same time?
Some carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point that trans is natural. The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth. So call it a protest, call it a celebration. We are bringing elevation to liberation. They try to erase us.
Like, seriously, this is what people are actually concerned about. It drives me nuts. Hey, Matt, I broke my femur bone. Christopher says that you broke your femur. Oh, man, in a road accident? The new job I got be gone and or delayed for 2 months. Dude, brother, that sucks, Chris. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, you will be in my prayers. I'll pray for you silently, friend. Bubby P, always tell it like it is. Yeah, I will. And again, these are the people that think that they are the ones that are being discriminated against inside of this country, when in reality they're not. But here's the couple. All right, this is the couple that ended up getting murdered. They ended up getting murdered actually right around the corner from the FBI headquarters. which is probably the biggest slap in the face to this entire story, was that they were literally right around the corner from the FBI headquarters when this ended up going down. They weren't like in some obscure location. They weren't. And you're going to hear from a witness right now that's going to go over this and exactly what the man said. If you don't think that this is a hate crime for some reason, you're about to hear why it is.
You know, I did see somebody run in. The security guard happened to let this guy in. I guess they were thinking that he was a victim. And he was covered in rain. He was clearly in trauma. He was in shock. And, you know, some of the people at the event brought him water. They sat him down. Are you okay? Were you shot? What happened? And he's like, somebody called the cops, bring the cops in. So about 10 minutes later, when the cops actually came in, he said, I did this. He said, sir, I'm unarmed. He put his hands up. He grabbed a red keffiyeh out of his pocket and started the Free Palestine chants. You know, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And he was being dragged out of the building as he was yelling Free Palestine. And he kept yelling Free Palestine. I, you know, tried to hand him his keffiyeh back because I didn't really realize that he murdered 2 people. About 5-10 minutes later, we start to gather more data. It turns out he was in the building with us for like 15 minutes. Thank God he left the gun in the bushes outside, or he left the gun outside. And we found out that I think it was 2 people from the embassy that were murdered in cold blood. And obviously this is a secondary source, but my friend was actually watching the security footage, and he murdered somebody, executed them from the back, 5-10 shots. I don't know about the man that was killed or shot. I don't know if that's confirmed yet, but it's disgusting. I don't think any acts of...
Like, does that make it clear enough? Like, eyewitness statement on top of what I'm about to show you of when the guy was getting arrested. I hope this makes it perfectly clear that he is using the same chants. And this is the same stuff that I've talked to you guys about before, where what they mean and what they talk when they say globalize the Intifada, and what Intifada actually means, and what the revolution is, and everything else that goes into it. And it has nothing to do with Gaza. It has nothing to do with the West Bank. And it has everything to do with the Jews actually like occupying the land of Israel. And they continue to do this crap on pretty much the daily basis. You don't believe me? You don't believe me at all that this is where the guy is? You don't want to believe an eyewitness statement? Well, here's the gentleman himself that ended up doing it. And I'm going to show you a picture of where he came from. I'm going to show you a picture of some of the things that this guy has done. I remember I told you guys, I want you to remember this, that last year when all of these protests were going on, was that people that were in these crowds at these different protests were going to be radicalized. This guy literally murdered 2 people, sat down and waited for the cops to show up before pulling out a keffiyeh and shouting Free Palestine and Intifada revolution. Murdered them in cold blood, sat and waited because he wanted to be on camera. He wanted people to know. He didn't want to run. He was too big of a wuss to actually get in a gunfight. He just wanted to murder people and get thrown in jail and make a stance because he got radicalized. And a lot of the stuff that he ended up getting, and this is why it's so important that we sit back and we combat this misinformation that's taking place over there. A lot of the stuff that caused this individual to be radicalized is nothing but a bunch of false information, things that I've gone over time and time again. Not one single recorded death of starvation inside of Gaza. Not one. Not a single one. Hollywood Marine says, it appears this event lacked any kind of security. RIP for the victims. Yeah, of course there was no security. Why not? You know what's really sad too? Jerome Kadar, when he came down to visit me, I told you guys about it, and I shared some pictures and stuff like that. When he came down to visit me, this is an Israeli Special Forces guy. All right. And when he was on vacation, he's currently back inside Gaza, taking the fight to Hamas. But a couple months ago, he came down to Texas to visit me. Like, he was doing a speaking tour through the USA, and he stops in, you know, originally I was going to take him to the range. We're going to go shooting. We're going to do some other things, but the weather kind of sucked. And and he showed up to my neighborhood. Go outside to greet him, give him a big hug. First time I've ever actually got to like meet the guy. Give him a big hug and ask him what he wants to do. And I'm like, hey, dude, you want to tour Dallas? Cool. Let me take you around downtown. Let me show you Dallas and all these other things. And he had a buddy with him who is actually his security guard, believe it or not. I ended up making sure that my Glock was on me anyways for hanging around him. His buddy had his carry. And what was really sad was before we went downtown, and again, you've got a retired Green Beret with you. You've got another guy with you that you brought for security because you're going around doing a speaking tour. Drone is Jewish, period. There's no getting around it. Before we got out the car, he felt the need to take off his kippah because he didn't want to get in a freaking argument. He didn't want to get in a fight. He didn't want to get shot in the back. And again, this is an Israeli Special Forces guy hanging out with a retired U.S. Army Special Forces dude with another dude there for security. And he's got to be worried about getting his dang freaking head blown off out in public, downtown Dallas. That's flipping sad. That he can't even like express himself religiously in one of the freest states in the United States of America with some of the best security that you can have. I want you to think about that for a hot second. This is the suspect's name, Elias Rodriguez, from the Party for Socialism and Liberation, argued that the murder of Laquan McDonald and the Chicago bid for an Amazon headquarters are not two separate issues, but rather they are connected. Here he is at a protest, hanging out over there. And if you heard what he was shouting, how he went, free, free Palestine. I don't know if you've noticed or not with all of these different freaking videos that I've shown. That is quite literally the like college protest chant that these nut jobs are going around screaming on a daily basis. Like, where do we think that this guy got this freaking ideology from? Where do we think it came from, ladies and gentlemen? Where do we think it came from? Who do we think is spreading this stuff? What do you think? You think Ilhan Omar had anything to say about it?
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now. I'm going to go for now, Mark. Couldn't even say.
Let's watch that again.
Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
These are the elected officials. This is an elected official here in the United States of America. This is an elected official. This is an elected official in the United States of America. Let's go see what happened at Columbia University yesterday. I know I've gone over and I've told you guys that, I don't know, the amount of misinformation that's spread online is insane. I was going to do a whole segment on that, and I decided to delete all of that crap before I went live. I was going through what I was going to prepare to talk about, but I decided to show you guys stuff from Columbia University. You guys know Columbia University has had issues for years. Well, what if I told you a buttload of the students from Columbia that just graduated decided it'd be a good idea to burn all of their diplomas? I want you to guess why they decided to burn their diplomas over at Columbia. Show me in the chat.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
That chant sounds really familiar, doesn't it? It's like I've heard that before. It's like I just heard somebody moments ago chanting this. Fox McCloud, when you take off your kippah, they win. And this is coming from a Catholic. I would agree. Nathan, did you see what happened at the CIA headquarters? I did. Security guard ended up shooting somebody. We don't know why yet. Suspect still alive. This is Columbia University after years of studying I don't know who paid for probably student loans, probably parents, everything else. And this is outside Columbia University prior to all that happening. And if you listen to the dang chant, it is the exact same chant the frickin' nut job was screaming after he killed the couple. They were planning on traveling to Israel next week to get engaged. That's why they visited the embassy. They were going to formalize it in front of friends and family. Sun Wong Kong, hey brother. Crystal Knock was done by the college students too. Unfortunately, history repeats itself. Right. But you know why? Like, do we know why this starts at the colleges? Why we see this happening at the colleges? It's because that's where you start this crap. You infect the minds of the youth, and then you take it and you broadcast it outward. Not to mention, when we talk about social media, it's not like there's a lot of 40-year-old men like myself that have a large social media presence. Most of it is like college-age kids. And if you look at the actual youth in this country, anybody below the age of 35, so 18 to freaking 34, I saw a poll last week where almost 50% of them were against the state of Israel and supported Palestine. 50% of college-age kids support Palestine. 50% of college-age kids support Palestine. What does that mean? What the hell are they learning in the colleges? Why aren't they being taught history? Why aren't they being shown actual facts? Why isn't there a genuine discussion taking place? Why do they feel the need to burn their diplomas? 50% of the people that graduated from Columbia, according to the stats that I read, support Palestine. You committed genocide when there's quite literally zero genocide taking place. And what's funny is I argue with these people all the time, and I hear their arguments online. Number one, Palestine was never a country. Number two, genocide. What are we talking about? Are we talking about Israel trying to erase the population? No, they're not. Now that they've come out that all of that's BS, now they're trying to use the forced displacement or forced migration of people as genocide because of what's currently happening. They just like the word genocide and are just throwing stuff against the wall to see how much they can make stick in this case. A lot of people that end up hearing it, though, don't know that. And most of these people that are over here don't even know Hamas's radical ideology. Some of them understand and don't care. Some of them have actually looked that deep to understand what that radical ideology is, and they don't care. And it resulted, again, in the murder of this couple. But that's just the beginning. This has been going on for a long time. And a lot of us have opened our dang mouths and said this needs to end. But a lot of people have kind of remained silent. This is what these college campuses have looked like. Now, I can rewind just a little bit. We can't hear a single thing they're chanting about, but I got a feeling if you look outside the window at this class that's being disrupted, you probably have an idea of what's going on. Fox McCloud says we need to do better by sharing videos like this and educating them and disabusing them for their ignorance. I 1000% agree. There's the problem, though. It's trying to convince people that they've been lied to, because they're so ingrained with their beliefs. You think those people that burned their diplomas yesterday, that you can turn around even when presenting just empirical data, not outrage targets or anything, like not outrage freaking, like rants, not outrage freaking debates, not anything crazy. Just put empirical data in front of them. And these are supposed to be college graduates now that are burning their diplomas. Do you think that can change their mind? I highly flipping doubt it. It's not going to at all. You've got crap like this taking place all the time in the USA. All of the time. Even in Dallas. Stop it. All of the time this is taking place, even here in Dallas. It drives me freaking nuts when people are pretending like it's not. It's probably one of the most ridiculous things, one of the most ridiculous, I don't know, things that I've ever heard, ever seen, is all of these protests that are taking place and nobody standing up and nobody calling them BS. This is from just a couple of weeks ago, where, again, people think it's okay. I reported on this back then, and I told you guys that we are going to have people be radicalized in this country. And you better be prepared when Israel goes into Gaza for people to start getting murdered and terror attacks to increase here in the United States of America. If you think this is the last one, you are dead wrong. More of these are going to continue to happen. The messed up part about all of it is I would bet if we went over and we got that guy's data, and we went over his computer system, and we went over his IG, and we went over his Telegram, and we went over his Snapchat, and we went over his TikTok account, we went over all of his crap, that at some point in time, that guy got inspired by somebody online. That somebody grabbed him and started encouraging him to do this crap. Anonymous Patriot, you're wrong. You can kill an ideology, but you better be prepared to completely and totally commit genocide. You better be. I made a joke months ago, and people thought it was a sick, disgusting joke, where I said, why do people think genocide always has to be bad? That's what I said. And truthfully, I kind of stand by that statement. Because when you have an entire population of people, and this is the sad, flipping truth. This is the sad truth, and they know, because God forbid I speak it. When you have an entire population of people that wants nothing more to do than to kill you and your family to meet their radical ideological belief, and their radical ideological belief is to kill you and to take what's rightfully yours, that there is only one way to stop them. Only one way. And then they're going to take that narrative and they're going to flip it. People look at what's happening in Gaza and think Israel is being like overly freaking like overkill. That it's disproportional. No, it's not. That's what war looks like, number one. And number two, that's what they have to do to stop these radicals from going out and killing them. You know, more rockets were fired out of Gaza just into Israel proper yesterday. Not at the IDF. At the civilian population. Even with the overwhelming video evidence that came out on October 7th of them just murdering and slaughtering people, they refused to accept that they were literally targeting civilians. Their claim is that the Israelis killed all of those innocent people. It wasn't Hamas. It wasn't the Palestinians. They were told not to do it. No, it was the Israelis that did it. Jay Seal says, don't knock on doors you don't want to open. The problem is they open that door. I didn't knock on it. They kicked that door in. They kicked the door in, and then they stepped out into the world. And when they step out in the world, they step out with this freaking like propaganda wave. And you got a bunch of people that ended up buying into it. And this, again, these are just facts. That if somebody is so committed to their belief, and their belief is to kill you, there is only one way to stop them, especially if they're willing to give their life for that belief. They believe they need to kill you, and they're willing to give their life to do it. Therefore, there is one way to stop them. That's it. That's all there is to it. That is the simplest argument that you can make in this case. That's what these people believe. And so they got to be put down. Period. And you've got idiots like this. I'm not even going to listen to what he has to say. You've got idiots like this, who's an American running around the world. You know what's funny is I met somebody that happened to know him before he blew up and before he became so flipping extreme. Individual was hanging out with him at a house party. And his friends years ago, not that long, to be perfectly honest with you, it was in the 2020s. And this guy was pushing his like communist agenda back then. This person doesn't believe in that crap. This person had no idea he was going to be there. This person had no idea of any of those things. This guy. And he was pushing the communist agenda for so long. Why do you think it is that today this man is now standing up on the side of the Palestinian people and how Israel's evil and how America's evil and everything of that nature? Why do you think it is that he suddenly took that turn? Because he didn't know shit about Gaza back then. He didn't speak a single word about Gaza back then. Not in the entire time. He didn't care. He did not care. You guys want to see me block somebody? Watch. Bam. Done. He didn't care. Oh, this will piss people off. Hold on. Let's just piss some more people off today. Go ahead and drape this up in the back. Just going to put that behind me for now. Apparently, it's time to put the flag back up. By the way, for all you free pallies over in the chat, that flag has dirt from Gaza on it. Just want to let you know that. Just throwing that out there. It's got dirt from Gaza on it. Just going to chuck that out there. As I continue to set this studio up, I'm going to have to figure out a good place to put that, along with the Ukrainian flag, just to continue to tick people off. It is appalling to me that you nut jobs will sit in here as I talk about 2 Americans being murdered. And you want to come in here and scream free Palestine. Like, you have no respect for anybody. None. That's why you end up getting blocked. I have no respect for you. I have more respect for Hamas than I do this radical free Palestine movement that is like Earth itself in America. Because at least they have the balls to fight and die for what they believe in. You don't. You know what you do? You run around and you run your mouth and you don't do shit. You know how many free Palestinian nut jobs I've invited down to Texas to come fight me? You want to put your money where your mouth is? It is a freaking mutual combat state. I'm pretty sure dueling is still allowed. If you want to have some real balls, you want to duel, bring it. I am so tired of your trash. I am not scared of death either. I put my money where my mouth is, fighting radical Islam. And now radical Islam has made its way into our country. This terrorist ideology. And it's the same thread all the way through, and it needs to be eradicated. Period. That is the movement that stands for actual genocide. I can prove it. I can prove it. By the way, it's not just Jackson Hinkle, it's nut jobs like this that end up spreading this radical ideology. It's nut jobs like this. American has no idea what the hell he's talking about. I do. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know I've quoted this before, and I brought up hate crimes in the United States of America and everything else. Let's talk about it. Nobody trusts the FBI, though, right? God forbid we trust the FBI. I'm just curious. I'm going to check. I'm going to run this number real quick because I want to find it. We're going to talk about 2.5% of the American population, 7.6 million people. 1.4% by religion, 8% ethically, culturally Jewish, and 0.2% with a Jewish background. So we're actually talking about less than 2.5% of the American population. Here's why I bring that up. We're going to go over some hate crime stats over here in the United States. I want you to know that Black or African American population makes up 13.6%. They make up 13.6% of the population. Jews make up less than 2.5% of the American population. Bias by type. Anti-Jewish. These are hate crimes that ended up taking place. 4,000. Oh, come on. Back out. 4,736. This is 2023 stats. 2023 stats. 4,763. Excuse me. That was my dyslexia coming in. 4,763 cases of anti-Semitic hate crimes here in the United States of America. 4,763. There's one category that ends up beating them out every single time. Anti-Black or African American. 13,465. Again, African Americans, 13.6% of the U.S. population. Jews, 2.5%. I don't really need to do the math on this to know that they are disproportionately targeted more than any other group here in the United States of America. Extremely disproportionately targeted here in the United States of America. 2024, as far as I can tell, has yet to be released. But I know it's going to be way freaking higher. And it's like the FBI is waiting and holding on for those numbers. I've been waiting for those numbers to drop, and they haven't dropped yet. But they should be getting released sometime soon. And boy, oh boy, when they come out, are they going to be even bigger? You better believe it. 2023 was nothing compared to what 2024 was. You had people that were getting attacked in the United States of America who I've had on this podcast who weren't even Jewish, that people thought they were Jewish and they were going around attacking them. I think more Jews, truthfully, I'm going to have to look this up. I think more Jews have been attacked since October 7th, like following October 7th, than Middle Eastern population has been since freaking like following 9/11. You want to see something even like crazier? If we get into it, they also have like stats for Middle Eastern people and like Arab. Guess how many Arabs got attacked? Anti-Arab. Here it is. 462. Anti-Arab. 462. That's how they classify it. So 462 anti-Arab hate crimes in 2023 versus 4,563 anti-Semitic. Now, just out of curiosity, here in the United States, to be fair, I'm just going to look it up. Danny Golan says, got another one of these flags for you. Got another one of these flags for you. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. Yeah. Fill them up. Fill up the chat. Do it. Drop them in there because I'm kind of over it. It is so disgusting and appalling to me. 0.6% of the U.S. population. For Arab. For Middle Eastern, you're looking at about 1%. I'm getting so freaking tired of this crap. Let's see. Anti-bisexual, 163. Anti-agnostic, whatever. Anti-Catholic, 358. Anti-Church of Christ. Anti-Orthodox. Anti-female, weird. Anti-gay, 3,974. Anti-Hispanic Latino. Anti-LGBTQ, 2,500. anti-other race, ethnicity. It doesn't come close. Whites get targeted quite a bit, oddly enough. Transgenders get targeted a bit, oddly enough. It's freaking disgusting, man. Mayor Howland coming in, $15. Europe and far left fell for the propaganda and ended and supported the wrong side. You're absolutely correct. They absolutely did. There's your stats. I don't know why the CIA got attacked this morning, why a security guard decided it was the time to pull the trigger, but I got a feeling it's going to happen. And people don't think the United States of America is under attack. I got a feeling Iran likely ended up radicalizing that guy online that ended up going over, attacking and shooting some people who he perceived as Jewish. Again, one was Christian, but that doesn't matter because he's a Zionist, which quite literally, if you think Israel has the right to exist and Israel has the right to defend itself, congratulations, you're a Zionist. It's so stupid that people use that as if it's a bad thing. I got in a debate with somebody on a freaking very large Twitter space. And I asked the guy, do you like, he's arguing with me that Israel is doing all of these crazy things. And he called me a Zionist like multiple times. I said, well, do you think that Israel has a right to exist? And he goes, yeah. And you could tell he was like some white college kid. And he goes, yeah. I said, do you think Israel has a right to defend itself? And he goes, yeah. I said, congratulations, you're a Zionist. The dude's head about exploded. And he's like, I'm not a Zionist. I was like, you just admitted to being a Zionist. I hope you understand that. You literally just admitted to that. People are so dumb in this country. They don't even know what it is they're arguing about or talking about. Because of this online radicalization, I promise you, more of this stuff is going to happen. More of it's going to happen. You're going to see an increase of these attacks now. You're going to see more people being targeted. You're going to see synagogues being defaced. You're going to see Jews being attacked on their way to worship. You're going to see all of this. But I bet you the Muslims in this country will not. I bet you the hate crimes against Jews are going to rise drastically. But I would bet you hate crimes against Muslims will not. I'm sorry. If you're Jewish, it's time for you to speak up. What's really sad is that the Jewish population, they're really not fighters until like you attack them on that homeland, right? They are looking at this place like it is insane to me that this person I talked to this morning, one of my friends I talked to this morning, said that they are considering now flying back to Israel for their own safety and just living in Israel. And I said, well, you understand that there's a lot of terror attacks that are taking place in Israel as well, right? Like you have people pouring out of the West Bank and killing Israelis all the freaking time. Those fires that took place just a couple of weeks ago. You got people running their cars into them. You've got people pulling up and shooting them. You've got buses that are exploding. Not to mention you got rockets falling from Gaza. And you've got ballistic missiles being shot from the Houthis. And then you've got the threat of Iran and nuclear weapons and all this other crap. But they feel safer in Israel than they do in the United States of America. And they're like, yeah, well, at least I get to go through it with my own people. Don't have to deal with it here at home in the United States of America. If you were to take that same stance here, you would crush this crap. That gal that I first showed, the reason that I support her and the reason that I put her stuff up on the screen here, this lady, the reason I support her is she actually goes around and she is one of the loud ones that like gets into people's faces and refuses to freaking back down. Like she goes over and she does it. Like I'm sorry, but if Jewish people did this more often and just gave the middle finger to the opposition and had that ride or die mentality like this all of the time, life would be better. And I understand the culture and I understand where it's at. But I also got to tell you that it's time for you to stand up for yourself. Because if you do not start doing things like this, and you don't start getting out there and you don't start just telling people to eat it. And I'm not telling you to pray to be attacked. And I'm not telling you to go out and to look for a fight. But I'm telling you to go out there and be a peaceful individual and be a Zionist that you are and defend yourself if you're attacked. because you have every single right in this country to self-defense in all 50 states. And it varies state by state, but you have a right to defend yourself against people that will do you harm. And you do not have to wait for them to do you harm in order to do it. I'm just throwing that out there. You have every right to be on this street and to wave whatever flag of choice you want. I don't care if it's LGBTQ. I don't care if it's the trans flag. And I don't care if it's the Israeli or the American flag or the Palestinian flag. You have every right to do that. But what you don't have a right to do is to go up and shoot people in the back of the frickin' head because of the country in which they choose to get engaged in. And it's not going to be until this stuff starts getting exposed, this actual hate starts getting exposed, that this problem is going to get solved in this country. We need people that actually show up and stand up and say, this is America. You don't get to do that. And I'm American. And I have a right to defend myself. Do it. Go do it. Things that are coming up for you guys in the future, ladies and gentlemen. I have been working pretty freaking hard over the last, even though I've been sick, I've been working really, really hard with Nate Vance over the last 48 hours on the Livelsberger case. I want to let you guys know that. It got thrust back into the spotlight. It got thrust back into the media. Sorry about that. It got thrust back into the spotlight and it got thrust back into the media when, how do I want to say this? It got thrust back in the spotlight and it got thrust back into the media when Sean Ryan went allegedly on Tucker Carlson. I didn't even watch the whole scene, but he ended up bringing it back up. And there's a couple really key pieces of evidence that I have been pouring out over and over and over. And I really wish people would pay attention to it and pay attention to what's going on here. We're going to talk quite a bit extensively about how ridiculous this entire freaking thing is. They said intraorbital gunshot wound initially, then they came back and said no, it was intraoral. But I want you to take a look. I ended up asking AI to do a rendition of what it would look like. AI couldn't even figure out how to make it work. I can. It's going to be like two thumbs, right, holding on to that sucker and trying to balance it over to shoot. Or you'd have to put it in your freaking eyeball. They said intraorbital, which would mean eyeball. Then they came back and said, no, it was oral. Right? It's a freaking 11-inch long pistol. It's an 11-inch long pistol they claimed that he shot himself with, whether it be at the mouth or the freaking eye socket, right before it detonated. 11-inch long pistol. Now, I did some math yesterday, and I'm just giving you guys little teasers for what's going to come. I did some math yesterday. 2 frames into it, talking about 0.0667 seconds, roughly, if I remember right. 2 frames into the explosion at 30 frames per second, which is very common for security cameras. So 30 frames per second, less than a tenth of a second later, the slide's not even locked to the rear. At this point, the shell casing isn't even ejected from the pistol. I want to throw that out there. The shell casing isn't even ejected from the pistol. The projectile has made it out of the back of his head in approximately 45 feet. Excuse me. The projectile would have made it through his head and ran about 45 feet. They said that it exited the left side of his head, by the way. You're looking at the left side of his head. The interesting part about this, knowing that you're going this security camera about 30 frames per second, is you can get the actual timing down, and physics and math and everything else doesn't change. You can see where he stood it upright. You could actually make out his hairline in this, for crying out loud. You can make out his head. You know what you can't make out in this at all? A firearm. Anyone want to tell me where the gun's at? Thumbs for sure. Can anybody point the gun out 0.06, less than a tenth of a second, following, like a tenth of a second following detonation? Can anybody point that firearm out to me? A tenth of a second later following detonation, less than a 1/10 of a second later. Anybody? Anybody see it at all? I'll tell you that I've got audio recordings that are going to blow people's minds. Number one, that the PAO lied. The public affairs officer for the United States Army lied. I don't even need those audio recordings to prove it. I could just go over and I could take statements from Las Vegas Metro PD and the FBI to prove it. But he lied. And I've got the audio recording that proves it. I've got other things too. I've got literal receipts. I know every purchase this man made during that time frame. Every single purchase he made. Do you think that all of that stuff is there? Do you think maybe that all of the purchases they claimed he made actually exist? Sun Wukong. I may have missed this, but from what angle is that photo? There were trees planted from the angle that this photo would be. This is from security footage that ended up getting released from them. Nate's been doing some other work as well on math and science and things of that nature. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Nate's pretty familiar with the oil field, and he's been going over all sorts of different things, like actual, in order to, like, because you got to understand, in order to make this happen, right? Because all the fireworks and crap were in the trunk. And so there was no explosives in the cab that we're aware of. It definitely looks like the bulk of the fireworks and all that crap were in the trunk. We saw him pour the fuel over the back, which leads then to fumes, which then leads to the proper air-fuel mixture in order to cause a deflagration, not a detonation, but a deflagration. And how toxic it has to be in order to make a deflagration like this, to actually have a spark ignite the air-fuel mixture of that particular fuel that he dumped into the back that we've seen on video. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're talking about a very, very lethal dose of that air-fuel mixture that immediately, again, in order to cause a deflagration, immediately, fumes, correct. That's what we're talking about. When I say air-fuel mixture, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fumes mixing with air in order to cause a proper deflagration like you see in this video. We're talking about fumes. And the concentration that has to exist in order to get this well burning of a deflagration. I would like to let the man rest in peace. I really would. But I refuse to let his family get slandered, saying that his wife cheated on him and that the baby wasn't his when that was 100% his child. And I refuse to let this go. Because there's a bunch of stuff about it that got fumbled, and you guys are going to see why when we end up releasing this video. And I think your heads are going to explode. And I hope you're ready for it. The stuff that we're going to put out, the stuff that we're going to talk about, I promise you is going to cause some sort of a congressional investigation. It's not going to be pretty. I'm not going to talk about like what I just showed, what I just put up on the screen. That's like science. Those are facts. But I'm going to be talking about other hard facts that haven't been released to the public. Actual hard facts on this situation that haven't been released to the public, that are unknown to you, that I've been keeping silent on. I'll say this, I'm not going to put national security in jeopardy. But I will 1000% cast way more than a shadow of a doubt on this entire situation for you, using things that, again, haven't publicly been released yet. I hope you are ready for it, because America, ladies and gentlemen, is under attack. It's under attack via the internet, causing radicals to go over and freaking shoot people in the back of the head just because they want to travel to Israel. And it's under attack in a lot of different ways. Just wait and see. It's going to be good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm going to see you tonight, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm feeling so much better today. I'm going to be good to go for tonight. I'm going to cut another video and release that sucker for you as well. All right? Be on the lookout for that. Ladies and gentlemen,